How many professional footballers within 5 years of retiring end up bankrupt?
70%.
Cool, you gone high.
I'm gonna go at 40%. I can't imagine.
Bang on. Yeah. Bang on. So it's 40%. So I then started to think, right, if I'm that 11th player in the first team, I'm looking out at 10 of my mates, 4 of them are going to go bankrupt. So then I started to do a little bit more delving and thought, right, what does the PFA do about this? Not a lot was the conclusion. Then there was always this breaking news. So you had like Merson that came out and said in the 90s he did 10 million at the bookies. You had Peter Shilton that came out and said I was 45 years a gambler. You've got, famous landmark divorces with players like Parler, David James maybe going bankrupt. I started to think, you know what, there's a hell of a lot of what we would call first-class footballers that we could all roll off the tongue.
Ian Wright as well, right?
Yeah. So I actually then I called it a troubled 11, and it was a proper 4-4-2 formation of players that had just fallen by the wayside where no one was really helping them. And I thought, okay, I don't want the next generation of footballers that I'm going to be representing to be mismanaged, ill-advised, bankrupt, or back in the day, they all seemed to go and buy a pub. So I thought, no, I'm going to change it. I wanted players to be educated. So I became a corporate partner with the Johan Cruyff Institute, helping a player create an identity and another revenue stream outside of being a footballer. So at any time that they fall out of love with the game, I'd like to think my players have been legally represented, they're financially secure, they've created a brand if they wanted to, and they've got an education, which I pay for. So I reinvest in my players on the basis that I will earn money from them. I don't want them being out of the game or speaking badly. I want them to be one of the 60% that have actually got a nice life. But ultimately, they retire twice. They retire once from the game that we all know them as. Then what do they do from 35? They're not all going to be Gary Lineker, Jermaine Genius, Alan Shearer that make it in the media spotlight. Why can't you become more interested in sports media, sports marketing, a physiotherapist, a trainer? And I'll pay for it on your watch, but it's the dime that I've earned from you. Do you now say to a footballer that's been around an academy or a club from the age of 9, that was done a scholarship, maybe getting a first year pro at 18, gets it, 20 is out. Those 10 years, I promise you, he hasn't, unless they've had the pushy parent like the Williams sisters, got an education. I know of a player who I won't name, who actually came on the interview when I did Mikel Antonio, who when he was at Burton, they would not let him sit his A-levels.
What?
And guess what? 2 years later, they released him. And they didn't let him sit his A-levels. I thought, that's not right.
That's awful.
Yeah, but he just thought, as did they, you are going to make it. You're going to be the next best thing since sliced bread or Michael Owen. And it doesn't happen. The stats on that are horrid. Was it something like there's 1.5 million, kids that are into football in academies, and you've got more chance being hit by a meteorite than you have of actually making it. Have developed in the last 15, 18 months was the sort of mental health, helping footballers understand about depression, gambling, positive sort of aspect, PMA when they're on the pitch. And sometimes, the top clubs, you could argue, do something. But what if you're Championship, League One, League Two, and you have a pandemic and you're in the Vanarama? They haven't got that. So if we can supplement a footballer, so our strap line is keeping you onside, on and off the pitch. So basically, as soon as you cross that white line, the player can be the best that he can be and play to the highest level, knowing that financially, legally, and education-wise, which I think are the 3 main things that I would drum into anyone, are catered for, then I think you've got a better chance, a fighter's chance of making it.
It's crazy the fact that, like, for me, the main takeaway for me was that whole Burton player of not being able to sit his A-levels. They don't want to further his education because they thought he's going to be the best player or he's going to be their saviour for Burton Albion Football Club. Yeah. And he gets released 2 years later for whatever reason. And he's just there like, now I've got to start all over again. I've got to do all of this by myself all over again. And my football club has detrimented my future in more than one way, which is awful.
And he's 23, he's turning 24, and guess what he does now? And yet he's only 24, lads.
Working in a factory, maybe in a warehouse, something like that.
No,
A levels.
No, he's running a successful recruitment agency in the Midlands for education.
Brilliant.
I rate that. I rate that.
You know, and fair play to him, but he again is the minority that, you know, thought, okay, I'm not going to make it as a footballer. The parents then reinvested in him to go and get an education, and that's paying dividends that he's running the recruitment agency. But for every, you know, Johnny, we can all name collectively 10 people that haven't and won't. And I don't want that.